Good morning. First, our main story. In his first full day in the job, Britain's new Prime Minister Gordon Brown is putting the finishing touches to his new cabinet.
Well, there's been plenty of speculation on the shape of the new team, but it does seem likely that some of the most prominent names from the Blair era will be leaving.
So let's talk to our political correspondent, Rita Chakrabarti, who's in Downing Street. Rita, what do we know so far? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it is everyone's favourite game here at Westminster at the moment, trying to decide who's in and who's out. What we do understand is that Gordon Brown won't be subjecting ministers to the traditional walk of fame or shame in front of the cameras up here in Downing Street to find out whether they've got a job or not. We think he's going to be contacting them privately by phone. So who's in and who's out? Well, it's thought likely that Margaret Beckett it will leave the Foreign Office, and her colleague Patricia Hewitt has already resigned from the Department of Health. We understand another departure is going to be Baroness Amos, presently leader of the House of Lords. Well, as for those in line for a promotion, we expect, of course, some of the big jobs to go to those people who've been loyal to Gordon Brown throughout the years, but also one or two of the big jobs also to go to some former Blairites. So those expected to do well include Alistair Darling, widely tipped to succeed Gordon Brown as Chancellor. David Miliband is thought to be poised to become the youngest Foreign Secretary for 30 years. Alan Johnson, who's presently at Education, is expected to take over at Health, and a heavyweight, Jack Straw, could be the next Justice Minister. Now, people will also be waiting to see what Gordon Brown does to fulfil that promise of having a government of all the talents. He's widely expected to try and bring in a top businessman or somebody from one of the other parties to take on perhaps not a cabinet role, but some sort of advisory role within government. All should become clear by lunchtime today.
OK, Rita, thanks very much.
The man convicted of blowing up an American jumbo jet over the Scottish town of Lockerbie 19 years ago is expected to be allowed to make a second appeal following a review of the case. 270 people were killed in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Abdelbasit Ali Mohamed Al-Megrahi has always claimed he's innocent.
It became an iconic image of international terrorism, an enduring symbol of the deaths of 270 people killed when a bomb blew apart an American jumbo jet over a Scottish town. In the field where the jumbo's cockpit came to rest, there's little obvious sign of the events which happened here nearly 20 years ago. Lockerbie, like the rest of the world, moved on, safe in the knowledge that the bomber had been tried and convicted, that justice at least had been done. A Libyan Secret Service agent, Abdelbasit Ali Mohamed Al-Megrahi, was the man held responsible. He was convicted during a unique legal process in which Scottish judges sat in a courtroom in the Netherlands. But 6 years on, campaigners claim he never received a fair trial.
The verdict reached at Zeist is unsafe and ought to be looked at again. And there are so many things to explain.
The case against Megrahi was circumstantial and relied heavily on forensic evidence gleaned from the wreckage of the Pan Am jet. A fragment of a timing device was found in a shirt from a suitcase in which the bomb was hidden. The clothes from the suitcase were traced to this shop in Malta, where the owner identified Megrahi as the man who bought them. But for the last 3 years, a body of lawyers have been reviewing the case as a potential miscarriage of justice.
It should be noted that although the Commission can point to one particular thing, that Mr Megrahi's lawyers are not restricted to that one particular thing. When they lodge an appeal, they can bring all sorts of matters to light.
Megrahi has been serving his 27-year sentence in a jail near Glasgow, and that's where he'll remain even if the case goes to a second appeal. Andrew Castle, BBC News, Glasgow.
More heavy rain is predicted across Britain in the coming days following floods which have already claimed up to 5 lives. Hundreds of people in South Yorkshire have spent a third night away from home, and in some areas floodwaters are continuing to rise, as Keith Breen now reports.
Water levels have continued to rise in some areas overnight as the floods move downstream. There had been concern that a 5th life may have been lost after reports of a man shouting for help near a flooded dike in Doncaster. But police have called off their search and say they're now satisfied that it was a false alarm. No one has been reported missing. There's now serious concern that more heavy rain could be on the way. The Met Office has issued an early warning of severe weather over much of England and Wales at the weekend. Forecasters are predicting 30 millimetres of rain in many places, but localised rainfall could rise as high as 50 millimetres in some areas. Keith Breen, BBC News.
A traffic warden is still in a critical condition following an attack in a street in southwest London. The warden was hit over the head with a motorbike helmet whilst issuing a ticket yesterday. One man has been arrested and is now being questioned about the attack.
Taking a long afternoon nap may be bad for children. That's according to 3 separate studies. Researchers say children found it harder to sleep at night. They were reluctant to get up in the morning, and they didn't do as well in intelligence tests as those who only napped when they needed to. Japanese fans of Harry Potter will be the first to see the latest film, The Order of the Phoenix, at the world premiere in Tokyo today. Dozens of Potter maniacs, as they're known, have been queuing through the night in the hope of catching a glimpse of the film's stars, as Chris Hogg now reports.
It's been a long wait, but it's finally here. The world's ready, and this is where it all starts, in Tokyo tonight.
It's not a lie.
Meet Japan's Potter maniacs. Harry's their hero, and they want to be the first to see his new adventure. So we showed them the trailer, a sneak preview.
Things at Hogwarts are far worse than I feared. You have been told that a certain dark wizard is at large once again.
Harry Potter's big here. The last movie made more money in Japan than any other film last year. So will this one do as well?
Dolores Umbridge has replaced Albus Dumbledore as head of Hogwarts.
I've waited a year and a half for this, Harry Sato tells me. I can't believe the premiere's in Tokyo. It's like what Harry said, Hermione Kurita explains. I was so excited when I heard the film was coming here first. I was in tears. Determined to secure the best places, the girls set off early, hoping for a chance to meet their heroes. That was last night. This morning, still hours to go before the premiere. Just look at the size of the queue. The Japanese fans can't believe their luck. Harry and his Hogwarts pals here in Tokyo, they're determined to do all they can to catch his eye. Chris Hogg, BBC News, Tokyo.
Well, those are this morning's top stories.
And now for a look at this morning's weather.